All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Wesley Lowry from the Post, and this is the annual Post debate, which is usually the last of the Student Senate debates before people hit the ballot box to vote for next year's student leaders. So essentially the way it's going to work is I've got some prepared questions. People have been tweeting in questions throughout the day. They can continue to tweet in those questions. If you do that, use the hashtag Post debate. It'll show up there. If you tweet other things, it will also show up there. So knock yourselves out. We're all for free speech, so do your thing. But essentially the way it's going to work is I'm going to give each of the candidates, we've got the candidates from you, from Reach, and Jared Henderson, who's running independently for president, all up here. Give them each a minute for an opening statement, or 2 minutes. What was our 2 minutes? A 2-minute opening statement. You see how much I care about the time limits. It's going to be a 2-minute opening statement. After that, we're going to move to some questions I've got prepared. They'll get 1 minute each, and then after that, we'll move on to the audience questions. So with that, we probably should have done this in some type of scientific way, but I'm just going to let you go ahead and start.
All right. Well, I'd like to first thank everyone for coming tonight, and as always, the participants for showing up, and the Post for holding this debate tonight. My name is Tony Coling. I'm the presidential candidate for the U Party. With the election this Thursday, it is important to have the voters informed, and we are here tonight to inform the voters. As you will see this evening, there's no doubt that Zach, Jared, and the entire Reach Party are qualified to represent the student body. But what we will show you is that we truly do represent the student body. And after giving you a thorough understanding of our campaign, platform, and now stances on issues that are important at Ohio University, we really feel that you will also agree with us in the fact that we will be your best representation next year.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Culp. I'm a junior here at Ohio University. I'm running for vice president on the U ticket. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm really excited since the election is on Thursday. I want to talk about diversity. I want to talk about the future of Ohio University, not only as an institution, but as a home for its students. I want to talk about how Senate can make next year better for every student that's enrolled here. After hearing what all of us have to say in response to the questions, hopefully questions that you guys have, I hope that you feel equipped to make the smart choice and vote for myself, for Tony, and the other members on the U ticket on Thursday.
My name is Jared Henderson, and I'm the independent candidate for the presidential position. I'm going to start off by being really frank. Currently, students don't like Student Senate. It's a fact. It's a sad fact, but it's a fact nonetheless. And because of that, we have to start asking ourselves, what kind of Senate should we be? We need to ask ourselves what kind of changes we should make. And before we can ask that question, we have to ask, what do we value? And when difficult cuts come up in the coming years, what do we want to stand for? And I can say that I've made it pretty clear throughout my campaign that I stand up for students, for their interests, and their needs. And to be perfectly frank, I think I'm the only one who truly does that.
Good evening. Most of you know me. My name is Zachary George. I'm running as the presidential hopeful of the Reach ticket. And I could sit up here tonight and list off my resume, my qualifications, what I've done for the student body. But instead I want to talk about the future of Ohio University and the future of Student Senate if elected come May 17th. Senate is an organization that is cursed with this fate of having to start over every year. Every year, new faces, new ideas come to Baker 305 with the intent of making Ohio University a better place, which is great. That's what Senate's there to do. But saying and doing are two uniquely different things. I'm here to say tonight that not only have I talked the talk, I'm going to walk the walk. If you look at our platform, U has constantly reiterated the fact that their platform is value-based, that it's not a checklist, which is fine. But we want to give students something different. We don't want to give these loose promises that past Senates and past tickets have given. We need to give students something that they can feel, something they can touch, something that we can be held accountable for 12 months down the road if elected this Thursday. I've worked my way through Senate, and I know the strengths I've acquired will help me take this Senate, if elected, to greater heights. I want not only my ticket, but the students of Ohio University to know that I will be able to sit across from the table of administrators and take a stand for Ohio University and for the students of this institution. I vow to keep my door, my mind, and my schedule open to the students of this university, and more importantly, I will make it a priority to reach out for whatever your needs may be. Vote Reach this May 17th, guys.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Amit Saini. I'm a junior majoring in classics and philosophy, and I'm running with Reach for the vice presidency. I joined Student Senate my freshman year. I was an intern on the Minority Affairs Commission. That spring, I was fortunate enough to be elected to be the East Green Senator with Sound. I served the majority of my sophomore year as the East Green Senator and the last quarter as a Senator at Large. This year, I was the Academic Affairs Commissioner for Student Senate. What I've really tried to get back to as the Academic Affairs Commissioner is representing the student opinion to the administration. And as a specific, a situation came up this year where there were some students who were going to graduate, graduate in the end of the summer, or end of the spring rather, and they wouldn't have to come back under semesters to get their degree. They would just get their degree without doing anything else at the end of fall semester, which is fine at first, but you realize that there are 6 months between June and December, and as soon as they get their degrees, their loans are up. Obviously, this is unfair to students, and students were clearly behind this, but the administration wasn't. It was a tough stance for me to take as the liaison between the students and the administration, but I took that stance, and because of my stance, I think particularly those students are getting their degrees at an acceptable time, and I think that's a representation that Student Senate needs to make, and that's a representation that the three of us have made. As I said before, I've been an intern, I've been a senator, and I've been a commissioner. I know what it's like to play all three roles, and I know what it's like to improve all three roles should I be elected for vice president. We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight, I'm sure, but I hope at the end you come to the realization that I'm the best candidate for the vice presidency, and that REACH is the best party to represent Student Senate.
Hello all, my name is Evan Nikas. I'm running to be treasurer on the REACH ticket, unopposed I guess, but still running nonetheless. A little background on myself, I'm a communications studies major, I'm a junior, I'm an RA as well. So being committed to something, being committed to service, being committed to the other, not yourself, but working for somebody else has been something that I have strived for since day one. Thankfully, I've been given the opportunity to find two other individuals that are like-minded, that knew that service above oneself is far greater than any personal achievement. And that's something I think that this election really is about. Service for the other. Service for the student body. It's easy to criticize when you sit from the outside looking in. It's easy to criticize when you've only been on Senate for a year. But my question is, if you have not the will to be there and change it, you have not the will to complain. For 2.5 years, Zach Amert and myself have stood by students time and again. Stood by students for their rights, for their responsibilities, something that we're the only 3 candidates that have done so. Now, I think it's important to understand that when we do this, we don't just create noise, we don't just protest, we don't just throw ourselves around. We do it in a constructive, positive manner that not only brings benefit to the university, but more importantly, the student. I think under a REACH administration and under this debate, you'll see that this isn't just a trait that we picked up for the first 2.5 years, but it's a trait we hold true and fast to. So hopefully after this debate, you'll be voting REACH this Thursday. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for your opening statements. I want to dive into first question. Now this one, the way I'll do the questioning is this one will be just for the presidential candidates. Most of them will probably be open, but there'll be ones I want to break out. All 3 of you, both in the conversations I've had with you, but also in your statements, have talked about experience. I mean, because anytime you go for a position, you got to be basing that off of something. Talk a little bit about what experiences you think best prepare you for the Student Senate presidency. Now, that doesn't have to be inside of Senate experiences, and you all do have inside of Senate experiences, but what experience or experiences do you think best prepare you for the presidency? And we'll start with Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. At the end of the day, we're not just student senators. We're not paid to do this job. At the end of the day, we're students. And all of us are like-minded. All of us have about the same interests, the same goals. We all go out, we have friends, we're involved in other student organizations. So in that regard, I've got the true student perspective. Any one of us up here is probably going to say the same thing. But in terms of core experience, in terms of the experience that's really going to matter when becoming, or if elected president, is your dealings primarily with the administration. Ultimately, they are the guiding hand of this administration, or of this university. And I can personally say, I think that I have an appropriate relationship with that administration. And at the same time, I know the lines that can't be crossed and can be crossed. And I've done that time and time again. For example, this Thursday, a majority of students that take place in the Student Senate elections will be voting on the Budget Planning Council, and whether or not they think that their voice is fairly represented on the Budget Planning Council. A pretty hot topic. to say the least. But guess what? I took a stand. And yes, it made some friends, made some enemies along the way, but I'm still here. I'm still running for president. I'm still taking a stand for students.
So one, I have a year of experience on student senate. Obviously, I'm not within Senate, not as experienced in the Honors Tutorial College Senator, but also I'm a general student activist. You notice like tuition hike protests and things of that sort. I'm either participating in them or was directly helped in organizing them. And I think that's something really important to do because I think that we can create a really a campus that is dedicated to being socially responsible. And in my dealings in and out of Senate, I've shown myself to do that. I'm also a member of the Ad Hoc Committee for Socially Responsible Practices, which is currently discussing the conflict-free initiative. And there's a real chance that within the next year, this university could go conflict-free or make legitimate steps towards that. I've been integral to that thing. That is a real, tangible thing that has happened. I've had to meet with administrators. I've met with President Davis about it. I mean, I have that kind of experience, and I'm producing results.
All right, so when you want to talk about experience, I think one of the greatest experiences you can have to be a student senate president, to represent the student body, is just interactions with the students. I've received these interactions with students not only in student senate this year, but also in many other facets of this institution. I have a campus job. I work with the football team. I have friends in many other organizations where I attend their events. I help them out, and we really meet a great majority of the student body through these activities. It does so much more than saying that you have been there for the students. It takes more than saying that you will be for the students. You need to really have an understanding of the students and relate yourself to the students. Not only to say that you're going to do it, but show the students that you care about them, that you're one of them, and you will be there for them once elected. That's what it truly comes down to. And you do need to have an appropriate relationship with the administration. That is extremely right. But what you have to understand is what really means appropriate. You should know them, they should know you, but you're there for the students. Respect them for who they are, but when you go into that room to talk to them, you make sure that your first priority is being there for the students and representing those who elected you.
Definitely. Now, this will be one of the last questions about yourselves, because frankly, I care a lot more about the issues of the students than about any of you guys. But with that, the question that I often don't think gets asked of student senate candidates is, what separates you from the other people running? Now, obviously, in past years, there have been issues with negative campaigning and infighting, and there hasn't been that this year, which I've appreciated, but in the same way, it hasn't helped us necessarily as students define the differences between the parties and the candidates. And there are some distinct differences between all the candidates and between the platforms between the parties. So what I'm going to say is, and this is open to everyone, can answer if they'd like, what differentiates you from your opponent, makes you the better candidate or makes them the weaker candidate, or what makes your ticket for, I guess really only for Evan, since he's the only one up here running without a direct competitor, what makes your ticket the better choice compared to the competition? So we'll start that one with...
I mean, I think that one thing that distinguishes myself from the other two tickets is that, I mean, I'm selling myself, I'm not selling a ticket, and that's the big difference. So I've got to talk to people about, like, my general principles and, like the principles that I'm going to let guide my potential administration. And deep down, like, those are a commitment to equality and social justice. Those are the two things that I care most strongly about. I think that we need to prioritize diversity and access scholarships at this university, and I think that students should have a large say in the way their money is being spent. The university likes to talk that we're going to go into a corporate model as a university, which, regardless of your opinion, well, if that's the case, then we're analogous to shareholders, which means that we should have voting rights, and I think that's very important. And if they want all the benefits that come for them of being a corporate model, then they have to deal with all the responsibilities of that as well.
What makes our campaign different, our entire platform, is it's not a set of loose promises. What it is it truly is our ideals and beliefs, and to show you why we will make the decisions we would make next year if elected, and where we would go with those decisions. We do not want to sit down and give you, like a to-do list, as I said before. It truly is a foundation of values. We'll do all the big projects, we'll give you great programming, and we'll make sure that your input is heard. But we will use our ideals to go along with that. We're trying to represent, the everyday student. And we're trying to do that through student input. So by listening to students we know, they don't want the excessive campaigning. That is what we've heard. Maybe it was a weakness to not get at the freshmen as much as we could have. However, it's really resonated with a lot of upperclassmen that I have talked to. We're not saying that we're innovative in a sense right now. We're not saying that. What we're saying is we did something different. It is different. We haven't been out there as much, but we've still gotten our message out to a majority of the student body on what we believe the right time.
Yeah, since this is the post-debate and we like a little spice in our life, I'll just quite frank, we're the ones that have shown up. These tickets claim that they're accessible to students. They claim that they're there for the student body. But it's pretty sad when you have students approaching your table saying, "Are you guys running uncontested? Who are you running against?" So I completely disagree with the prior statements that have been made by the other two about their accessibility. More importantly, and to the point, our platform in of itself is our commitment, our promise to the students. And we used values, we used student input when creating that platform. And guess what? It's not going to constrain us. We can enhance it, we can take things away and add things, but it's a guiding hand, which I think is more than the other two tickets have to offer at this point. Not only that, the conversations have been started. I had a meeting with President Davis this past week regarding the Chipotle standard and potentially more representation on Budget Planning Council. Once again, I'm talking about doing things, not just saying things. And that's reach for you folks.
Before I go to the VPs, either presidential candidate want to respond have you been accessible?
I'll make a quick rebuttal. There's no way Zach can know if I've been accessible or if someone's accessed me. If 10 people go up to him and say, "Are you running uncontested?" or even if 50 to 75 people say it, that's still such a small percentage of the student body. The people who have accessed me and have talked to me and my supporters, why would they go up to the reach table and ask them if they're behind me? That doesn't really make sense. They understand the platforms and know about the debate. I mean, they hear what's going on. And like I've said before, we've shown up, just not in the same capacity. And the reason for doing that is to set ourselves apart.
I'm trying to run a different kind of campaign. So one, like the fundraising is a bit different, but I made a decision not to raise any money because I don't think that the t-shirts and the candy and like the pens and things are like the really important parts. I've made myself available to students, and Zach can say that I haven't, and if legitimate criticism was up for everyone else to decide, I set up a website, I created an event, I did those things, and I tried to rely on like word of mouth. And I think it's been successful so far, and I think to say that I haven't made myself accessible or that I haven't shown up is just simply false.
Let's go to the VPs.
What was the question again?
This was, what experience or experiences do you think best qualifies you? Oh, I take that back. We did that one. This one was, what separates you from your opponents?
Okay. Well, the way the vice president is sort of set up, it's 25% of the time you're representing students, and 75% of the time you're doing the office work to make sure that Senate is functional. And to do that office work, it requires a lot of Senate experience. And I know the U Party claims that they represent the true student opinion, which is fine to some extent for the presidency. I disagree with that too, but for the vice president, I think Senate experience is vital. If you choose me, you get a president who not only represents students that 25% of the time that it's important to do so, but you get a vice president who makes sure Senate is functional 75% of the time. So you get a vice president who is at 100%, 100% of the time. With Liz Culp, you get someone who is going to represent students 25% of the time.
Okay, well, first thing that makes me different, I am a girl. These are all men up here, as you've noticed. So that sets me apart a little bit, I think. I probably will approach things differently. And I just feel like with Student Senate, yeah, they've been there. That's true. That's excellent. Good for them. The thing is, I haven't been like not paying attention. I've been to Senate meetings. I've seen them. I've read the Constitution. So when I'm going in and doing the office work with Senate, I'm not going to go in with like a predetermined position or a bias for a certain commission. Like I'm going in completely fresh. As far as showing up for the students, I'm running on diversity. I've gone through Safe Zone training this year for my platform. Like, I don't know how you can show up much more than that than by being involved in those types of programs that are going to increase diversity and make things better for students on this campus.
Well, I'm running unopposed. I think that makes me different. I mean, what is there to say? You know who I am. I think what's important is to differentiate between the parties. You have a party who let me clarify by saying I think everyone up here has the best intentions, but sometimes the best intentions aren't enough. And to be blunt, I think experience is everything when it comes to Student Senate. And I mean experience, being a student, to have the student experience, and having experience in Student Senate. Because for us, This isn't a hobby. This isn't something we do 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday. When you're elected student senate executive, every place you go, you represent Ohio University, no matter if you're in a bar, you're at a party, you're in an event, or if you're in the office. You are student senate. And to call it anything else besides a job because you're getting paid to do it is ridiculous. I think it's important to say that the three of us are ready to take on that responsibility. We're ready for that position, and we're going to be the best at it.